Hi, I'm Larry Todd, Arts and Sciences Professor in the Music Department at Duke. The book is Beethoven's Cello, 5 Revolutionary Sonatas and Their World. It's a volume that I've co-authored with my dear friend Mark Moskovitz, professional cellist and an author in his own right. And it came about as a result of our beginning to play these sonatas in concerts. We were surprised to realize that there is no book in English about this music. Beethoven wrote 5 sonatas. He also wrote 3 variation sets, so it's a total of 8 pieces. It's not a huge amount of music, but it's a significant amount of music in his career. And the sonatas came about in a kind of odd way. In 1796, he left Vienna, where he had arrived in 1792, to embark on one of his few concert tours. He went first to Prague, and then to Dresden and Leipzig, and he went up to Berlin. And the point of going to Berlin was to have an audience with the King of Prussia. This was Frederick William II, who was the nephew of Frederick the Great. Frederick the Great was the Emperor of Prussia who had basically put Prussia on the map. Frederick the Great was also a flutist, and he invited Johann Sebastian Bach to his court in 1750. So now, several decades later, the young Beethoven rolls into Berlin and goes to meet the king. King Frederick William II was a cellist. So what is Beethoven going to do? He's going to write cello music. And because he's writing cello music for a king, it has to be music on a grand scale. It has to be a very complex, brilliant piece calculated to ingratiate himself into the court of the Prussian king. So he writes 2 sonatas as Opus 5, plays them with the king's preferred cellist, a Frenchman named Duport. The king is impressed. The king rewards Beethoven with a snuff box filled with ducats. The king dies the next year. Beethoven goes back to Vienna and publishes this Opus 5, and the modern cello sonata is born. What do we mean by the modern cello sonata? It's a type of chamber music in which the cello and piano are on equal footing. They have equally important roles. Beethoven would return to the genre of the cello sonata in 1808, 1809, when he writes his 3rd sonata under totally different circumstances. He's in Vienna, and as he's finishing this and seeing it through the press, Napoleon approaches and starts to bombard Vienna and finally conquers Vienna. So Beethoven experienced some of the results of warfare. The Opus 69, his 3rd cello sonata, is a special favorite in the chamber music repertoire. Another 10 years pass, and in 1816 and 1817 he writes 2 more sonatas, the Opus 102. By this time, Napoleon has been defeated, but Beethoven has totally lost his hearing. He's totally deaf. So he's composing this music basically from the memory of what music sounded like to him in his earlier years. If we take all 5 of these pieces, it's a 20-year span in Beethoven's career. They represent or reflect the totality of his career. We have the young, early Beethoven trying to make his mark, trying to establish himself. He's writing music that reflects the high classicism of Mozart and Haydn, but it's also music that has the indelible stamp of Beethoven. The Opus 69, the middle period, is heroic music written for a revolutionary age. And the 102, the late pieces, reflect the abstruse, experimental, abstract style of the late Beethoven. It was a type of music that his contemporaries simply could not understand, and it took decades for people to understand fully and appreciate this music. The book is divided into chapters based on these sonatas. We also have some interludes that talk about the cello that Beethoven actually owned. Beethoven was not a cellist. He was, of course, a great pianist. He did play the violin and the viola, so he understood strings, but he had a cello that hung in his study, and there is an engraving on the cover of the book from the late 19th century that shows him looking at his cello and composing music at the piano, possibly one of these sonatas. So that's the book, Beethoven's Cello, 5 Revolutionary Sonatas in Their World. And we hope that it fills a niche and that it helps to uncover some of the fascinating narratives that surround this music. Thank you.